Welcome to the Mid-Market Edge podcast, where we uncover operational insights for private equity-backed portfolio companies. I'm your host, Kevin Bonfield, and over the last 30 years, I've had the privilege of working with fast-growing entrepreneurial teams, helping them scale, tackle challenges, and seize new opportunities. On this show, we'll talk to industry experts and seasoned leaders who will share practical strategies to drive growth, boost efficiency, and create value in the mid-market. Get ready for an insightful, engaging conversation that dives deep into the real-world issues facing your business. Hello, I want to welcome Justin Ricklefs to the Mid-Market Edge podcast. Justin is the founder of the Guild Collective. He lives in Kansas City and is getting ready for the World Cup. We may talk about that. And he's written a book called Give a Damn, The Catalyst for Caring Companies. Justin, it's fantastic to have you on the podcast today.
This is a treat to be with you, Kevin. Yeah, wish we were together, but we're just about 8 hours north of you on 35. So with you in spirit, but grateful for the chance to be with you, man.
Yeah, no, it's great to have this conversation. So I know that you've done some very interesting things in your professional life. So maybe you can start off just by giving us a little bit of run through of that, so we know who we're talking with.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. There's obviously long versions of all these stories, but in its most abbreviated form and in its most kind of straight pathway, grew up in Kansas City. I'm the youngest of three. I chased my high school sweetheart to the University of Missouri. The greatest sales job of my career was convincing her to say yes and to continue saying yes for the last 23 years. Her name's Brooke. She's my much better half. And together, she and I have raised 5 children, or in the process of raising. We've got 4 daughters, 1 son, ages 22 to 14. And from a professional standpoint, my career started actually as a full-time fraternity cook in a kitchen, which is a whole incredible story. But I worked for a guy who ran a catering business, and he happened to have a client as a fraternity. He was like, "Hey, you take that job." I was like, "Okay." But I learned so much from him. His name's Leslie Jett. He's a really incredible person. But then on the corporate side, I stumbled into this company called Learfield Sports. Learfield was founded by a guy named Clyde Lear, who I'm sure we might talk about, who had an amazing exit himself and definitely created his own edge based on care for his culture and his company and his clients. And I worked for Learfield for 5 years at the University of Missouri and then the University of Memphis. And then we moved back to Kansas City, and I got a job with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I was with the Chiefs in the front office for 8 total seasons, 2 different stints, and I quit that job a month before they drafted number 15 from Texas Tech, Patrick Mahomes. 100%. So it was like, what wonderful timing on that decision. Had I known what was coming a month later, it would have made it very, very difficult to leave that place, which I have such fond memories of and wonderful relationships. But I left the Chiefs to start what we're doing now, Guild Collective. And so Guild is 9 years old. It's an agency that's helping brands find and articulate a really clear and compelling purpose, and then how that integrates throughout the business, both from a team experience and client experience standpoint. And so we've been at this mission and experiment for the last 9 years, and we'll get into, I'm sure, some of that. But yeah, in its most abbreviated version, that's a little bit about who I am and what I'm up to.
No, that's great. And as the father of 2 daughters, I'm not quite sure that I can imagine what 4 is like. So the fact that you're smiling tells me that it's been manageable. Talk to me about when you started at Learfield, because you mentioned about the importance of culture and that there was something there that really got you down this, got you interested in this arena. So tell me about that. How did that start? What was the trigger for that?
Yeah, it's interesting. In fact, just yesterday, Clyde Lear called my cell phone, and I was in a meeting, and I was like so tempted just to bounce out of the meeting and take the call. But he left a voicemail, and he's in his 80s now, and he's got this huge heart, and he's obviously been successful on every level, right? But he gave a damn enough about me to call and say, "Hey, I've not only read your book, I bought 12 copies, and I'm giving them away to friends." And what happened for me in 2004 was I encountered Clyde, like literally encountered Clyde. He was the CEO of the business at the time. And Learfield had gone through their kind of bootstrapped years and they were on the rapid ascent up. And so that's where I intersected that story. They had 13 properties. They hired me as an entry level guy at the University of Missouri. And I tell this story in the book about Clyde. Clyde is definitely the protagonist in the book. And in my very first sales academy, so they would fly all the newbies to this, like, 3-day thing where they put in the system on how you should sell and think about client relationships. And I desperately needed it. And at that sales academy, on the very first night after the workshops and the training were done, I walked outside and Clyde and his executive team, I didn't know these people at the time. It's like Greg and Roger and Andy and his crew were sitting around a fire smoking cigars. And I'll never forget it. Clyde like grabs me and he was like, "Hey, Justin." He calls me by my name, first of all. I'm the brand new kid, right? Calls me by my name. And then he proceeds to ask about Brooke and our brand new baby girl, who's now 22. And I was just like, at first, kind of, the walls kind of go up a little bit, like, "Wait, what? Like, why does he know this?" And that's kind of a weird thing. And then the second I realized he was authentic and genuine in his curiosity and care for me, it was in that moment I was like, "Bro, I will run through the brick wall for this guy. Like, why does he care about me so much?" And it was genuine. It wasn't manufactured. It wasn't manipulative. It was genuine care. And he built his whole entire business and career on that. And he's just this really contagious, infectious person. And it was, I didn't know that at the time, but as I reflected back, I think, oh my gosh, like Clyde gave me the blueprint. He showed me that care and commerce can coexist, which is a quote that Truett Cathy from Chick-fil-A is famous for. So anyway, that the long-windedness is like, dude, it's totally about Clyde. I encountered and experienced how care can be a competitive advantage. And it went really well for him on the financial returns as well. So
Yeah, that's interesting that the first reaction is, "Oh, my walls go up," rather than actually seeing it for what it is. That you have to work through it a couple of times to go, "Oh no, this
100%.
person is genuine. They're authentic. That they do care for me." And so, okay, I'll lower my barriers now. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a client I'm working with at the moment. They have a customer concierge. And
Mm,
she is doing just an absolutely incredible job reaching out to customers and
yeah.
and just asking them what are we doing well, what are we not, how can we fix it?
Yes.
But it's because she's almost like outside of the normal structure. These customers feel like they can tell her anything and everything. And I think part of it is
Yes.
that authenticity, right? Because of the connection.
Yes. 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 And it works at scale. The founder of Ritz Carlton talks about have a good product, deliver it on time, care for people. Like that's the simple premise
Right.
around Ritz Carlton. Like Ritz Carlton's done fine. It also works in a micro local restaurant. We went to this beautiful place a couple weeks ago on this farm and we drive up and it's kind of a weird thing. Like it's not in the city and it's this like boutique little bougie kitchen thing. And there's literally an 80-year-old dude in the field when we pulled in. His name's Jim. He's a retired teacher. And we get out of the truck and like he's standing there. We didn't know where to go. Like you can kind of figure some stuff out, but there's no signs. It's literally the farm. And
Right.
he's like, he had this huge smile on his face. He's like, "Welcome to Saltwell Farm Kitchen. We're so glad you're here." And like in that moment, it's like you feel good. You don't necessarily
Right.
state that out loud, but you feel that. Yeah, the customer concierge is a brilliant concept.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So, uh, let's talk a little bit about your book. I know that I have a number of people who are Chiefs fans. If we have time at the end, we'll come back to the Holman Holmes thing.
Yeah.
But talk to me about what the premise is within your book and how that applies for as we've talked about before, the mid-market companies who are thinking about going to market. What can they take from your insights that will deliver an easier process or a better outcome?
Yeah, I think that's awesome, Kevin. I think in its most concise version, what I was working through and processing on my own. I wrote the book for myself, which is this thesis of can care actually be a competitive advantage? Can it actually give me, to the name of your podcast, an edge? Can it
Right.
help me as a leader be sharper, more profitable, more focused? Can we be more effective as the
Right.
if the leader gets this message, the business gets the byproduct, right? And
Right.
so the medicine, the framework, it's not an academic theory. It's not this like perfectly manicured set of drawings. It's a lived experience for me. It was much more mess than magic, right? And it was this evidence, these experiences, these encounters, these stories of people like Clyde, people on the other end that were the antagonist who led with heavy shame, heavy control, heavy fear. And then certainly in my own experience, how I've shown up in both of those ways, right? Like how I've caused harm and how I've caused generative goodwill. And as I worked through it and sat with the process and the framing, it was like, oh, well, these are simple components. But if the leader shows up with curiosity, number one, if it actually shows
Hmm.
up, if he or she shows up with curiosity, not judgment or knowing the answer. If the second step is if they show up with compassion, and Arthur Brooks calls it empathy in action. It's not just empathy. Is having a moment as it should, but
Yeah.
empathy in the corporate workplace is the on ramp. It's not the final destination. The on ramp is
Right.
empathy, and then compassion is where the leader can take action on that empathy. And then ultimately, it shows up in clarity and consistency. And so those four pieces that build this mosaic, build this evidence, build this long term view of, hey, care can be embedded, it can be embodied, and it does generate returns. It does generate growth, both in its impact and its evidence. And so, yeah, for me, that the work was very much for myself because I wanted to get clear and sharp on what do I not just say with my head, but embody in my being and my heart. And then ultimately say like, man, I'm in this for growth and gain, not just this isn't a nonprofit. I'm ready to grow and have a competitive edge when we in a sea of other options for your brand work. I want to get really
Yeah.
clear and tight for how our business shows up. And so yeah, that's a little bit about the mindset and the framing.
So the four C's. So it was curiosity, compassion, clarity. What was the fourth C?
Consistency. You got to just do it a long time. You got to
Yes.
keep showing up. Like this is not
Yeah.
a there's no magic bullet. There's no secret sauce. There's no like course you can take over a weekend and get fixed. Like this is a
Right.
healing journey and one that is and your audience knows this. They're in this stuff for the long haul. They see stuff at CEO level, COO level, holding company level. They see this how imperative the health of the individual the leadership team, the person, the people, the group who
Right.
is responsible for stewarding and shepherding the entire organization. It is hard, sharp work. It is not the easy road. That is for sure.
Yeah, I love the starting one, this idea of showing up with curiosity. I had somebody I worked with, gosh, it's a long while ago now, maybe 15, 20 years ago. Um, and she talked about the difference between the difference between having curiosity in a conversation and having a very closed view. And the way that she described it was,
Yes.
if I believe that
Yes.
you're incompetent, then the way that I'm going to ask questions is very different to if I
100%.
believe you're competent and I'm just trying to understand, right? And we role played it, and I came out the back end of it. I'm like, I was this, we did it both ways. I'm like, I'm the same person. That feels very different to be questioned as if you think that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes. There's a total difference between interrogation that's based in criticism
Right,
and this like heavy-handed like oh, I'm actually smarter than you because I'm the whatever title in the organization versus
right,
this inherent curiosity of actually your perspective will color my decision. I might end up having to still make the call and it might be
right,
in a disagreement with what you would do, but your perspective and insight is actually not just helpful, it's required. And a team
right.
that is empowered to share their voice and their perspective is a healthier, stronger organization.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you see that when you come into a new organization that you're working with? How quickly do you see it? I mean, do you have to go through interviews and surveys, or do you literally see it in the way that the interaction happens when you get started?
It's a really awesome question. I think for me, I'm starting to pay more attention. This has been my own growth and process, but I'm starting to pick up more of the energetic cues. You can kind of just sometimes feel culture. Culture is the
Right.
outcome. It's the byproduct. You can't, pizza party your way to culture. Culture is the lived experience of the organization. And so we're starting, and I actually just wrote about this on LinkedIn, but we've kind of been like this salmon swimming upstream into this more origin based source where if the organization, what we've experienced is a lot of companies, rightfully so, especially in this mid market space, have really sharp kind of what I'd call like head knowledge of their business. They've got crisp books, they've got a really strong plan, they've got a clear
Hmm.
business strategy, they've got EOS or some version of they're operating the business in a way that's really intelligent, which is
Hmm.
awesome. And then a lot of times they jump from this head-based system into, to keep like the body analogy, like to the fingertips, the toes. They're talking about tactics. They're talking about what's our marketing plan, what's our AI strategy, what's our SEO plan, what are we doing from a recruiting standpoint? Again, not bad things,
Hmm.
but generally there's this embodiment, there's this heart center of the organization that's either underdeveloped or ignored or avoided, or frankly, like they don't really have language for it. So, a very practical thing that we talk about is most companies have mission and vision and values. They like baked them, they put them on a wall somewhere, but very few have this activated purpose or a clear and compelling why. Like, why do we actually do this? Not like what do we do or who we do it for, but like, why the hell do we wake up and do this? Like, what is that emotional charge? And then how do we integrate that through the whole entire experience, both from a team standpoint and the client experience standpoint? And of course,
Hmm.
it's not that simple. There's complexity in every organization. But
Sure.
the heart of the business is generally begging to have this really clear, compelling, connected heartbeat that is the embodiment of the intelligence center of the business. And so that's what we started to help come. And most of the time, like they know this, they crave it, the answers are already within them, but we just help them shape and clarify that story so there is common language. They have simple sentences to be able to describe what they do. They have this compelling story to tell, and it takes this like mystery out of these things they're longing for and looking for, and we just help bring some clarity and shape to it.
Yeah, I love that, and the idea of connecting kind of the black and white. This is the leadership team. This is the direction we're going in, and then the beating heart of the organization, which ultimately, look, it's going to show up in metrics, right? If I've got a better customer
100%.
relationship, my churn metrics are going to get better and better. But it's almost the fact that you're creating a much more powerful engine in a company if you've got everybody who knows where they're going and can make those smaller decisions and go
Yes.
faster.
Yes, yes, and it goes for me. It goes instantly back. I mean, there's big conversations we could have about companies like Carvana and Chick-fil-A, who's their financial returns because they've got a clear
Right.
head center and heart center. It's working. Like the business health is growing. So we can talk about that. I would go back to Clyde, and when I first got hired at Learfield, behind there used to be like receptionists back in the day. Behind the receptionist desk, there was his brand heartbeat on the wall, their brand heartbeat. It said,
Hmm.
grow the company, build the team, have fun. And I was like, wait, you can have fun at work? Wait, like he wants, oh, I get it. They want me to help grow the business, build the team, and have fun. And so, like,
Right.
that was the embodiment of their business strategy that wasn't
Right.
just hanging on a wall. It was built out into every touch point of the employee experience and the client experience.
So that's great. So tell me about maybe an example or two of clients you've worked with where you've walked them through different approach and how it's, how it showed up for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. We just had this event 2 weeks ago now. We call it the Gathering, and we invited 50 CEOs and founders, and it's kind of this vulnerable, like put our mark on that. We're like, will they come to our thing? And we had like instant fill up, and we're like, oh shoot, maybe we should have done 100. But we had a client panel with these three incredible leaders who are leading organizations in Kansas City. One's a commercial and residential roofing company that's like absolutely blowing up. One is a mid-market bank, local bank, and then one is a leadership experience company who he's still walking the road. He's on the earlier stages with us. But what started to get really clear was as these three were sharing their stories, it was, and it's like most things, they're these simple stories that we're able to tell over and over that begin to get repeated by our teams. And so it becomes less like the leader pushing towards like, I got it, you have to comply and demand this like
Right.
embodiment. And it was more this song, right? The song that begins to get repeated over and over, and this chorus that grows and shows up in Google reviews and P&L and L and the effectiveness of the campaign, and it shows up in all these evidence-based things. But the heart of the organizations were clear. They were connected and they were creative and they moved human emotion. And I was the one leading the panel, and I was just sitting there like, damn, this works. It's like their companies are all growing. Like there's actual evidence in the bottom line because they've invested in the heart of their business, and they didn't take it for granted. They didn't assign it to somebody else in the organization. They owned it, and that is was really rewarding to hear.
And as they were talking about it, you talk about the connection of the head and the heart. Um, what did they do? How long did it take them to go from a mid-market bank to a mid-market bank that has these kinds of
Yeah.
characteristics and is growing?
I mean, the our roofing client and the bank client are two of those three on the panel. They're the furthest down the road. They've been walking this road longer than the third. And both of them are in the middle of record years. And both of the leaders of these organizations made comments like, we have leveled up our talent. We are more selective in who we get to hire now. Our culture is stronger and stickier, and our clients are happier. And the ways that we're showing up is not as we don't have to force things. We're like a conductor now. Like we're playing a more beautiful melody. And so, yeah, practically speaking, they talked about we now get to hire based on our heartbeat principles. We get to have clarity over what email I send every Friday to the bank staff to show how I see our team embodying these values. And so it gave common language and specificity, which I think is a lot of the work of the leadership team. Is like, it's not ethereal and out there. It's specific and clear so that the team can anchor into it and have something to shape and guide their stories.
I one of the things that we do is we send out updates to our clients, like the end of the week updates.
Love
But
it.
the idea of doing that around culture and values and highlighting that every week and showing these are examples of why it is that we've got this heartbeat. I don't see that very often. That's very different.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, and it's the thing we say in our business a lot is it's an inside out project. Like you can't market your way to a healthy business, because if the people in your culture feel unappreciated, unseen, they don't care. Like they might comply for a while because they need the paycheck, but the second they can do something different where they feel more valued and aligned, and ultimately where they can contribute to a deeper purpose, they're going to go there. And so, yeah, the mistake, and with no judgment or shame to it, the mistake that a lot of mid-market leaders will make is assume that the answers are all on the external side, the client side, the growth side, the marketing side, and they've got this underdeveloped resource, their internal team who will become their champions, their storytellers, the people who are involved in the community. And if you give them the framing to help shape that story and frankly, just
Yeah.
to enjoy their experience at work and hold them accountable towards a purpose, like it
Yeah.
just simply does go better and it does grow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we were talking earlier on about how this relates to getting ready to go to market, go through a sale process. So where have you seen this work particularly well for a company that's going through that engagement, that transition?
Yeah, we've had a few owners specifically walk that sale road, and they candidly came to us thinking that like a rebrand or a logo change would help their enterprise value, which to some degree it does, but it's a little bit like it's like makeup a little bit. It's not wrong, but it's not the full story.
Right, right.
Um, and this work, even as we've grown, has shown up in ways that are directly related to enterprise value. And one company in mind that I can't quite talk about the specifics because it was his story, but he did sell the business after our engagement. And he told our team, he came back into town and he told our team at our table right out there, he was like, I wouldn't have received the multiple I did if it weren't for the work we did with your team. We're not taking the credit, but because it was his story, but we helped him frame
Right.
it in a way that gave him distinction against a sea of sameness. Because that's how, like, there's so much commodity and noise and nonsense and everybody kind of chasing the same type of stuff that when you allow yourself to get clear and simple, that signal becomes really strong. And he did have a really nice exit, and we should have negotiated equity into his deal.
There you go. Maybe next time, Justin. That
That's right.
comment, enabling him to, I think the words you used were deliver distinction in the sea of sameness. I mean,
Mm,
that is one of the challenges, right? There are so many, which
yes.
doesn't really matter which industry you're in. You're going through the process of a transition, and a lot of companies look very similar until you peel back and you go, oh no, this one has
Yes.
a heartbeat that is going to
Yes.
it's not just today. It's going to be part of the investment that I make in this organization for the next several years. It's one of the things that I think takes risk away for buyers.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously every deal is different, but when the story is over reliant on the founder, and then that
Right.
founder is part of the person who goes away in the transaction or the transition, and it's not allowed to be a transformational event, that there's real risk
Mm.
there. And so that's where, in this particular example I was just using, he had done the work to build culture, to enable leaders, to empower different individuals, and to clarify system expectation standards, all that. And then this brand heartbeat work helped him just go, oh, there it is. It's like, there it is. And so, yeah, 100% that is a very beneficial part of this work. And it's also, when not done, the gap between that founder's expectations and the reality of what happens when he or she is gone is just filled with frustration. It's just straight frustration.
Yeah. So what I'm getting from this, Justin, is it has to start like the has to start from the top. There has to be that lived experience that says that I'm connecting the direction with the heartbeat of the organization and the culture.
Yeah,
And at the same time, if I only think about that as part of a transition, it's not going to translate, right? Because it's not going to be lived
that's
by
right.
the rest of the organization. And it's that living by the rest of the organization which creates the engine and the fire and the passion which lives on.
100%. And it is the energetic source. Like it is quite literally the thing that moves the business.
Right.
And again, we're already everybody's already doing this to some degree. It's just whether or not it's harnessed and potent, or if it's diluted and watered down and fragmented.
Right. Um, so I'm just thinking about how to like embed this. Like, if I'm thinking about this as a company that I'm either leading or I'm thinking about getting ready for transition, how do I make this happen? Because one of the things that's always stuck with me about culture is that it's not this ethereal thing, right? It's something that people
Yeah.
live every day. Um,
Yeah.
I am a culture carrier, like I carry the culture of the
Yeah.
organization that I'm trying to lead. And so, how do you get started? How do you start to push that and make that engine grow?
Yeah, well, the short answer is we'd love to talk to those folks and help them do this. But
Absolutely.
the longer answer is that there is a really simple framing, which is, and I didn't write it down. I could share it, but if you distill all of the conversation into it to a 2 by 2 grid. I know everybody, we love 2 by 2 grids. And if you have a
Love two
two
by
by
two.
two grid, yeah, and if the vertical axis is purpose, and not like, oh, I wrote this one time 6 years ago, but a clear, compelling, contagious purpose, like something that gets
Mm,
people up and feel something. And it's not like a one time thing. You got to talk about that every damn day. Like, what is the purpose? For Guild, it's to create meaningful abundance. And it's like, that's weird from a brand agency. But like, that's what I'm after. I want to create meaningful abundance for our people, for my family, and for the people that we intersect with. And then the horizontal axis is integration. So is this integrated from every point of our experiences, not our process, our experiences?
mm,
And in simple forms, put team experience, client experience. So when we recruit someone, are we embodying this purpose into that experience? And so if you break down the descriptions in the top right, which is what we're all after, is flourishing. If you have high
mhm,
purpose, high integration, companies flourish. Flourish is the outcome. It's not the goal. It's the outcome. And the bottom left is frantic. If there's no purpose and there's no integration, the company's frantic. The leaders are frantic. The whole system is frantic. If you've got high purpose but low integration, you're dormant. You're like a sleeping giant. You're like,
mm,
everybody knows the purpose, but you haven't done much with it. You haven't activated it. You haven't lived it out. And then if you've got low purpose, high integration, so everybody's busy, everybody's working hard, but they don't really know why, then that is a restless organization. The restlessness is like, I think we're going the right way, but like, yeah.
mm.
So in a distilled model, that's what, and every leader you talk to, every leader we talk to, like everybody wants flourishing, but we complicate it so much, and it's like, no, like, of course there's other things we got to do, but get clear on the purpose and then integrate that throughout the organization, team experience, client experience.
Yeah, if you don't live it, right? If it's not baked into the ceremonies and the meetings and the way that you operate, then it's
100%.
I mean, I can imagine that the most frustrating place to be is in that we've got purpose, but it's not integrated. You can kind of see the promised land, right? But there's
Yes,
nobody helping you
yes,
get there.
yes, yes, yes. We were in a big boardroom about 2 months ago with a amazing company in Kansas City that we really want to work with, and the leader, I kept pushing on purpose. And I was like, yeah, but like, does everybody know it? Do people talk about it? Is it clear? And he got hella defensive, and I don't blame him. Like, I was kind of being provocative, um, but it was clear to him, but it wasn't lived out in the business. I was like, that,
Right.
like, in its most simple form, like, that's the problem. That purpose isn't just like a one-time project that you put in a PDF. It is a heartbeat. It is lived out. And when that thing gets
Right.
integrated, all of a sudden, like, yeah, everybody's rowing the same direction, to use an overused cliche.
Yeah, no, it is one of those things that I think when I was first starting in work, we talked about change management as you've got to say it 7 times for it to
Yes.
stick, right? And I think in today's world of cell phones and much and TikTok, I think it's more like
Yep.
20. But you've just got
100%.
to keep on saying it, and sometimes it's almost to the point of you feel like you're being boring and repetitive, and actually that's when it starts to make sense
Yes.
and people start to pick it up.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so couple of final questions, Justin. As you look back on where you're at now and all of the insight that you have from the companies that you've worked with and from your book, if you took that expertise and you went back to the
Mm.
beginning, what would you do differently at the beginning of your career or at the beginning of working with companies that you now know needs to be the case?
Oh, Oh boy, I mean, it's such an awesome question. The reality is I don't think I clearly wasn't ready or I had to go the journey I had to go through because that the way I learned was through my lived experience and some most of it through pain, right? I think what comes up for me though, especially as with the audience that you serve, is I would have believed a decade ago in small, simple, niche, not wide, broad, all things to all people. And I was for a long time like the anti-niche guy. I'm like, no, 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 like that's dumb. I don't want to be limited. And it's actually like the liberation that I've experienced over the last couple of years to shrink down our focus area and who we serve, what we do, our product, our actual like what we say hell yes to versus what we say no to is
Mm,
would have prevented lots of low profit quarters. So I would
right.
have taken that. I should have listened to people like you a decade ago. In other words,
Oh wow. So gosh, two things in there. I'm just gonna have to. I'm just gonna have to go on, Justin. So there's a number of friends of mine who are in their businesses are going through a similar process, right? And we talk about niching down, or where I grew up, niching down,
yes,
and
yes,
part of the challenge is that when you talk about niching down, it becomes this. Oh, I'm shrinking, like I'm
it's
getting
terrifying.
smaller,
Yeah,
right? And we started talking about it as niching up, right? You are becoming a specialist. You are becoming somebody
yes,
who is is
yes.
is wanted and sought out in a particular
Oof,
area. And it, the niching up versus niching down made all the
love
difference in
that.
a number of conversations. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because it does. And we done it, and it took 18 months for it to kind of fully be embodied in our business, but it was terrifying at first because you're like frantic, and so we're on our own journey of moving from frantic to flourishing, and I love that concept, niching up. No one's ever said that. I love that so much.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so if somebody wants to work with you, Justin, they've heard the podcast and they've said this sounds fantastic and I need this help. How do they reach out to you and begin that conversation?
Yeah, the website's guildcollective.com. And then on LinkedIn, just my name, which is spelled a little funky, but you can see it on the screen and in the show notes,
Yeah,
I'm sure. But on LinkedIn, I write frequently. So
awesome.
message me there. Happy to get connected. And it's just been a joy to talk to you today, Kevin.
Fantastic. Well, I wanted to thank you, Justin. This has been one of the things I love about conversations like these are you kind of think you know where it's going to go, and then you get like these little nuggets. So I very much appreciate that, and thank you very much for joining me on the Mid Market Edge podcast today.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mid Market Edge podcast. For more information, visit the Mid Market Edge website at midmarketedge.com. Details are in the show notes. Remember to subscribe and like the show so you'll never miss an episode. And until next time, keep building your edge in the mid market.